So Werner von Strucker is alive, in a coma, but alive. And alive long enough and conscious enough to tell May at the end of last week's episode that Andrew is Lash. She can't deny the terror in his face that he is telling the truth. And now she's gonna have to confront him about that. Also, Fitz digs a little deeper into Gemma's adventures on the alien planet, gets a hold of her phone, and is able to find some information from the files within, plus a few heart pulls. And Coulson and Rosalind Price get even closer. All this on this week's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 3, Episode 7, Chaos Theory. Alright, now, spoilers ahead, just so you've been warned. So the big thing, of course, this week is May and Andrew and the revelation of Lash. And you gotta kind of feel it for May. On vacation with Andrew in Hawaii, it's beautiful. She is even considering leaving S.H.I.E.L.D., willing to really step forward and restart their relationship. And Andrew is for it. They're really syncing up together. But as soon as they get back, Andrew opens up Zhang's journal and boom, the booby trap of Terrigen crystals inside is released, and Andrew, instead of being killed, is transformed into the inhuman Lash. And I kind of like how there's a little bit of digs on multiple sides in this episode. May, not ready to confront Andrew, wants to check a few things. Checks his medical record, checks his travel. On the far side, we have Lincoln, who is trying to find his, who's behind his people, and from finding out who was killed is able to track back that those names must have come from Zhang's journal. And of course, Zhang's journal is in S.H.I.E.L.D.'s hands. So kind of a nice double little investigative approach to bring everyone together and really show that secrets like this can't last. Even Andrew sort of mentioned something like that to Gemma early on in the episode, how secrets will eat you up inside. Kind of comical, obviously. He's more talking about himself, though he's keeping that secret. And even in the opening little bits of the episode with Daisy and Coulson talking to each other about Lash and what are his motivations and what he's doing. And obviously you have Andrew right there in the background getting all of that information. But we do get to find out a bit more really of what is driving him. Not as much as I had hoped for, but some information. He is following a compulsion. The moment that he transformed, he was compelled to hunt down the Inhumans. And then once he kills them, he gets a sense of relief. Is this a recharge for him? Is this just sort of a kind of like what's his name from the first couple of episodes, who was helping him doing the computer stuff, who could detect the location and was in pain, and when one died he actually felt a sense of relief. I think with Andrew it seems more it's just being now away from that the intensity of the compulsion, of the instinct that takes over when he's close, is gone, so he can feel a little bit more human. So he is compelled to hunt, compelled to kill, but again, reasons why are a little lacking. He apparently does have some control because he hasn't attacked Daisy, and when he does grab May and has that big talk with her, that's one of the things that he puts out. Oh, I would never hurt Daisy. I would never hurt those people close. So is there a level of control, or is it just as Lincoln sort of points out, he is in transition in his change, and that is something that's going to be less. Now, in the comics, Lash is a determiner of worthiness. After the Terrigen bomb went off in the comics, they used the crystals in the water and the fish oil and everything. Here in the comics, they use that's a Terrigen bomb that spreads everything out. But Lash's sort of position with that is to determine the worthiness of those who have changed. Normally, it was a long process, and you were deemed worthy. Jing went into that last season, whether or not you could do the Terrigen mist and become a full Inhuman. So for Lash, again, in the comics, he was a determiner of your worthiness. If you were worthy, you were fine. If you weren't worthy, he would kill you. Here, it's not set so much. That could be the direction that they're moving, but they really don't give into too much, again, fully on his motivation on those things. Great sequence when he goes out with the ATF coming in and he's just mowing through people, and it's only at the very end, May sort of tricks him into turning human and then shoots him several times. Not, she says it herself. I didn't know if he was gonna live or not. But she had to do what she had to do. So kind of a nice wrap up of the Lash storyline. We get to see a little bit more. We get a little bit of backstory. Obviously we can feel for May and what her loss is for that, since she was really willing to give up everything for him, and then he is just kind of taken away, which reflects back into also what is happening with Fitz and Simmons. Once they get away, then Gemma is taken off. And in this episode, he gets some of the information and is able to find out and track maybe a bit of the history of the monolith from the markings that were on the wall in the castle that he finds matches up similarly to the patch on the mission patch on Will's arm, and is able to take that as a lead forward. After, of course, going through all of Gemma's notes and obviously those heart pangs as she's reaching out for Fitz, but is now for someone else. So we've got a lot of reflections, and even with Bobby and Hunter, there's kind of that connection, love, though for them it's not pulled away. It's more of recognizing the fact that could be lost. Where Bobby basically tells Hunter, I don't want you to go after Ward, and I don't want to go after Ward. Finding Ward is not worth losing you. An actual very adult conversation, which was nice. It was the interaction in this episode was very short, but it was very to the point. No stretched out, overly drawn out emotions and back and forth. Just a very honest adult realization of the cost of revenge. And then there's also another very adult conversation that goes on between Fitz and Gemma at the end, where he lets her know that he has found some information. And she's staring off into the sunrise, and she mentions out that no, what I said in those videos, I was clear-headed as I am right now. Does that open the door for Fitz and Simmons? Maybe a little bit. But again, it's not a held moment from an adult standpoint. It's just, right, why don't we just sit here and watch the sunrise together? Let's just leave it at that. Enjoy those little moments. Because ultimately that's all that we have. Even at the end of the episode, it reflects back to that. Those moments between Andrew and May at the beach in Hawaii, just having a drink, just appreciating the happiness that they have right here and right now. Hold on to that, and that seems to be that kind of reoccurring theme. Again, it's hit here, it's hit with May, it's hit with May and Andrew, it's hit with Fitz and Simmons, and it's hit with Bobby and Hunter. And then, of course, we've got Coulson and Rosalind. They're getting definitely a bit more chummy. And it's kind of nice. They do have a good chemistry together. Episode starts out where Coulson is on his way to a meeting with the president, with the advisors, to talk about the Inhuman situation. That's kind of a big thing for Coulson coming forward as director of S.H.I.E.L.D. To me, those types of moves move the TV universe and the movie universe. Again, I know they're one universe, but they're kind of separate. This moves them together a little bit more. They've been doing that with using President Ellison in the first episode, and those are really nice moments. They'll be doing of course with Powers Booth in a way as well, which we'll get to in a minute. But just some really nice interactions and nice sort of comparisons between what they are doing, and the opening conversation between Daisy and Coulson, weighing the back and forth of which is more right, holding them in a box and giving them time consciously, or holding them in a suspended animation type of idea of situation, where they're not moving, they're not conscious, but they're kept safe. Which is better? I think the argument could be made kind of either way. Certainly with Andrew at the end of the episode, they show that storing him in this might be better. It might waylay the transformation until they can figure out something to do. But that also gets into the who's more deserving. There's a great conversation between Rosalind and Daisy in the midst of that, where Daisy is, of course, very protective of the Inhumans, her people, and Rosalind is expressing more of the humanistic, we have to be cautious. Yes, humans are afraid of Inhumans. They have superpowers that regular people do not. They are, as Rosalind says, their own weapon. And yes, some people should be, people should be given the chance and the right to use that responsibly. But some people will not. For some people, it's dangerous. It's a compulsion, like it happens with Andrew. So is putting them in a safe place away from people against their will better for society? Just interesting conversations. I like the fact that, and they haven't reached a conclusion with that either, which I think is really good. Through this episode, Rosalind really seems to be backing Coulson's play, really seems to be supporting S.H.I.E.L.D. in their partnership. In the beginning, Coulson is heading off to meet with the president and his advisors at NORAD, picking up Rosalind on the way. She is introducing him as a consultant, since S.H.I.E.L.D. is still under the radar at this point. So she's backing him on that. She has maintained Daisy's secret. She's also, when they go after Lash, after they pick up Lincoln and they head off to find May, she tells her people specifically that this is Coulson's op and to back his play. So throughout this, there seems to be a lot of support for Coulson, and then by the end they get to have their little breakfast afterwards bit. Though it is at that moment that we find out who Rosalind has been reporting to, and that is Gideon Malik. Gideon Malik, played by Powers Booth, who is the Hydra head that is currently advising and consulting with, discussing with Ward. Now, if they are maintaining that Powers, the same character that Powers Booth played in the first Avengers, again, uncredited, he's just in shadow. But if they're playing that character into this, then he was part of the World Security Council, so it actually makes sense that he is an advisor to the president. Which basically brings down to the point, does Rosalind know that she is working for Hydra? When we first see this scene, our initial impression is, of course, she's really been playing Coulson, and I think to an extent that she has. But whether she was honestly playing him or being deceptively playing him, that might still be up in the air. I'm sort of curious how that's going to go. And yes, she was reporting to Malik, but again, Coulson was being taken to meet the president, but it was on S.H.I.E.L.D.'s jet, which means they're definitely going to NORAD. So even if the president was a no-show, NORAD's a major military installation. I doubt that Hydra has been able to take over all of that, which means that there was a certain legitimacy in the meeting that was being presented. And so it could easily have been that Malik was going to show up there as an advisor capacity, unknown as a Hydra agent, or again, has Rosalind really been playing Coulson in the long con the whole time, merely trying to find out S.H.I.E.L.D.'s info, where S.H.I.E.L.D.'s secret base is, since she still doesn't have that information. Not really sure, again, what her motivations are. This is just opening things up, but I'm trying not to jump to conclusions too much. The show's been very good at offering one hand and then revealing the truth in another, that what you suspect things to be aren't always the case. There's always some sort of twist within that. So we're going to have to still continue and see on what's going to happen with that. What's going to happen next? We are going to have to wait till next week to find out. But things look like they are going to move for a much more explosive direction. We still have to see what is going on with Ward. What is his plan? Is it just to take out Coulson? Is it just to bring down S.H.I.E.L.D? It seems petty, which I think what Gideon Malik, Powers Boothigan's character, was sort of referring to. Revenge is a temporary bit of happiness. Happiness and joy indeed for evil people, but really a passing thing. What is the bigger picture? And that's what I'm looking forward to see, is what are people's larger goals? What are the larger aims? What is really driving these characters, and where do they want to go? We'll find out right here. Gotta wait till next week though. Please press like if you enjoyed my ranting and rambling. Feel free to subscribe if you'd like to see more of it every week. And comments in the sections below, always appreciated. I have a big video that is dropping tomorrow. Please pay attention onto my site. It's probably going to be first thing in the morning Pacific Coast time. Look out for it. Been working on it a few months. I think you will enjoy it. You can check it out right here. And I've got to go finish that up so I can finish and do that in the morning. So, y'all take care. I'm D, and I am out of here.